and that's an easy way to keep tabs on him too. If you just got into a fight and you were forced to run, for example, but you know his mana's low, chances are he'll be heading to the mana fountain to regenerate that. So anyways, he's chosen to continue creeping, which is really delaying his expansion, which is part of what happens on Knollwood. You need a certain sized army to take down these rock golem camps. Buys the boost of speed on the Mountain King. Again, human player, very essential. You want to be able to run away from the blade if you're low, but you also want to be able to catch up to grunts faster, or be able to bolt the blade and catch up to the blade faster as well. Mistake here by Golden Sun, I think, is not being aware of how much mana the Mountain King had, and so he exchanges the level 1 kill for the creep kill, which is obviously in Chuchubus's favor, both because he gets the 100 experience and because now minimum Golden Sun can't harass him as he creeps this rock golem camp, because obviously Chuchubus knows his hero is dead and therefore reviving. So this is pretty much a free creep camp and probably free expansion for Chuchubus. And you'll see he creeps it kind of oddly. Early defend. Anyways, I think I would have preferred to go for the priest first and then the golem, because the priest dies pretty much instantly. But anyways, regardless, so minimum to make up for his disadvantage, he starts creeping before his hero's out, and then only gets the kills once the hero's out, so that's going to give him the early level 2. Fine. Pretty intelligent, nothing to go to, but obviously it helps you make up for lost time when you've lost your hero. Sending his peon, this is what he should have done earlier instead of the grunt. Peon scouting. Obviously he knows once you see the Mountain King you can pretty much assume that it's going to be a tier 1 expansion. Obviously because Mountain King without Brilliance Aura can't support a mass caster army on its own. However, I will note a lot of humans like to do these days is Mountain King first and tech and go Archmage second, and then just play standard from there. And the advantages that they'll have an early level 3 Mountain King, the disadvantages that they'll have slower Brilliance Aura. But considering what it gives you the earlier, it gives you strength early on and that your heroes survive longer. Anyways, Golden Sun choosing the Panda, it pretty much gets bolted surrounded right away. That's unfortunate. It's advantageous for him though, because Panda's Breath of Fire really does very well against mass air, which he knows is eventually coming, so not a poor choice on his part. It also allowed him to harass faster with 2 heroes. Chuchubus does something strange here. He has a weak Mountain King and he chooses to run it into creeps. I don't know if this was an accident on his part. Probably was. But he loses the level 3 Mountain King to creeps. Unfortunate. It's not going to cost him the game by any means. He might have thought that Blade Master was Windwalk behind him, or he might have just not paid attention. Regardless, Chuchubus, his expansion is going up. The towers are up, there's footmen there, there's not much minimum can do. Looking back at minimum's base, he has chosen to build a Spirit Lodge. It's a mana fountain, so that's definitely a heavy influence in that decision, I'm sure. High level walkers means a lot of Spirit Link. You don't really need to spell too much, but lots of Spirit Link's very helpful. There's the first walker coming out. Obviously, first order of business, once you've harassed his expansion as much as you can, and weakened his units, and ideally killed the Mountain King, which has sort of happened accidentally for minimum, you need to counter expand as soon as possible to negate the expansion advantage that Chuchubus is about to have. And it's important to note, at the moment, Chuchubus does not have an economic advantage over Golden Sun, and so many Orc players don't understand this. Yeah, his expansion is going up, yeah, it's fortified, but when you add up the cost of those 5 towers and that expansion, it's not only obviously slowed his tech considerably, but it's really put him in the hole economy-wise, to the point that that expansion has to mine at least the gold cost of those towers and that expansion before it can be considered to be productive for him. So that gives you a small window of opportunity. It's actually not that small a window of opportunity, but it gives you a window where even though they have an expansion, they don't have an economic advantage, and it's actually okay for you to be aggressive at that point. Once they have an economic advantage, that's when the game starts to change and tip in their favor, and they start to pump out the 03 Griffins. But obviously their tech is behind too, so that's kind of the... Be aware of that timing. They can't fight you until they're tier 3. Their goal is to maintain that economic advantage. So free surround here for minimum, and snare, and surround. Pretty basic. Costs him the port. He chooses to port to the expansion, which is smart. I don't think he double-clicked. It's smart because that's where his healing is, and because you can assume that's where the orc was going. Once minimum sees that, though, he's obviously pretty confident that that's not exactly going to be an easy harassment, and that he will lose units harassing that expansion. Another thing to note, when you go panda level 1's pretty bad, so it's almost always better to creep the panda up than choose to harass. This strategy, especially when you've gone walkers, is the exception. You have Breath of Fire, so that's going to do some decent, even at level 1, that does decent damage to peasants. And any pillage benefits you can reap off him. I don't think he even went pillage. No, he didn't. He should have. Fortunately, he should have gone pillage, but he didn't. Any damage you can do to his peasants, anything you can force him to repair. Look at all the wood peasants that are walking around repairing, not mining wood. Remember how much wood this strategy costs the human player, not just for the towers, but also for the armor upgrades that he really needs. Important to note. So anyways, even though it doesn't look like he's accomplishing much, he is, in that he's preventing the human from mining wood. That'll help in the long run, believe it or not. He's chosen to stay tier 2 for now, even though he has the wood to go tier 3. I'm not even sure if he will go tier 3 in this game. In fact, I think he does, because it's a pretty long game, obviously. But anyways, interesting decision to delay the tier 3. Like I said, I think it's pretty much necessary versus this strategy, both because once they get griffins, it's very, very easy for them to burrow rape you, which just amounts to going into your base and right-clicking burrows for the griffins. And if they don't have fortified armor, they're all going to die very quickly, and then you can't mass bats, and then you've lost the game. But also because you like having orb, poison spears on the verns, liquid fire if you get bats, and obviously tiny great halls to make up for the expansion disadvantage. So that's useful in itself. Anyways, Golden Sun is building the war mill. Kudos to him. I really believe that that's essential to this strategy, especially because this is a large enough map, you can assume that you will be expanding more than once. So that's gold in wood in itself, and also because you're eventually going to be going tier 3 and wanting a third hero, which is again more and more wood. So really important to have that up. So yeah, here he does go tier 3, and he started production of wyverns, or at least his first wyvern. Next order of business for him is going to be to expand again. If you can get to the point where you have the map control that he has at this point, why not expand again? Like I said, one of the biggest reasons that this strategy is so strong on Echo Isles is that you don't have that option of expanding again. They have one expansion, and you'll get your one expansion, but you can't get an economic advantage. You can only equal their economic advantage. So minimum takes advantage of the fact that there are multiple expansions and expands again. You'll also see Choo Bus doing a very good job being aggressive, forcing minimum to keep his peons in burrows, killing peons rather. Every little thing you can do like that is important for you. Didn't majorly hurt minimum, but hurt him enough. It's pretty much the only thing you can accomplish when you have just a Mountain King. So, unfortunately, minimum lost a walker to creeps. That's kind of sloppy on his part. Regardless. Expansion going up, second expansion going up, and the panda getting leveled. Level 3 panda will really start to have an impact against the mass air. It's the same deal as Alchemist. He's a hero that's geared towards preventing the mass air from being as effective as it is. 1 second. Whoa, sorry about that, guys. Phone rang, so I had to pause. I need to resync the audio. So pause it at the 14-minute mark, and then we're going to resync in a second. Had to answer the phone. Very unfortunate.
it's hard for me to find a good time to record these days.